For at least the last 10 years, I feel like the popular thing to do as a guitar player has become to use a clean amp with lots of pedals to do all your gain staging. And although I think there are plenty of situations where that is useful, as a new guitar player you might think that this is the way to go. And I'm certainly not trying to shit on anyone who does this, but I'm more old school in my approach and I believe this can work for plenty of people as well, but many might not have even considered a workflow similar to mine these days. So on my pedal board I have only 3 gain stages, an overdrive, a fuzz and a boost. But that's not where the basis of my sound comes from, because that's all amp. Here's the amp with just a bit of reverb from the Strymon Flint. So that's the core of my sound and what I use most of the time, but you might notice that I'm using the middle position of my dual humbucker guitar, which is not the popular thing to do, but I have 2 reasons for that. The first is simply because I've listened to a lot of Led Zeppelin, and when I switched to dual humbucker guitars, this inadvertently became my default. But the second reason is that it actually gives me options. If I want more cut and bite, I switch to the bridge, and if I want a clean sound, I switch to the neck. That is probably the reason why I like brighter amps, because this does not work with everything, but I can get a lot of sounds and tonal options without even turning on a gain pedal. But let's look at pedals. The first in my chain is a fuzz, and I simply use that when I want things to get dirty. But I don't like a fuzz that changes the core of my sound too much, and that's why I prefer the earlier versions of the tone bender style fuzz. I simply use that where I feel like the song needs it. And only now are we getting into the only overdrive pedal on my board, which is a J-Rocket Archer, which is basically a clown clone. Besides the fact that I like the sound and feel of this pedal when it's on, I actually like it when it's off because of the buffer, because it adds something to the sound. As you can see, I run the gain very low. I rarely use it, only if I need a bit of extra push or to tighten things up, mainly for single note riffing. But besides that, I think it's good to have an overdrive on your board in case you have to use a backline amp or something. And now on to the gain pedal that I actually use the most, which is my tru-fi color driver that I use as a boost for solos. In both of my bands I'm playing with another guitarist, so I need some extra volume and EQ to cut through the mix. On the pedal I'm increasing the volume and treble while cutting a bit of the bass, and I'm adding just a little bit of extra gain to saturate the amp a bit more for solos. And this has proven to be very difficult for me to do with plexi style amps, but this pedal really does it for me. To be honest, if I needed to, I could do everything with just the color driver because it ranges from boost to drive to fuzz. But I don't want to be turning knobs during a show, and it's more convenient to have separate pedals that do one thing really well and have their own character. I'm not saying you should do exactly as I do. My workflow that I just showed you is obviously very specific to what I do and what I need. But I wanted to exemplify that you can do a lot with a lot less. So if your pedal board has gotten too big and too much of your sound relies on a lot of pedals, try to switch things up. Let your amp do more of the work and find out what you really need and try to get there with less. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and while you're down there, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you next time.